Level 1. Soviet Child. You're 11. Moscow, 1975. Your father is not a factory worker. He tells you this on your 11th birthday, the way other fathers might tell a child a secret about a surprise. Not gravely, not with weight, with the specific matter-of-factness of a man sharing a true thing. He works for the first chief directorate of the KGB, Foreign Intelligence. He has traveled regularly on business he doesn't describe. He speaks English without an accent, which you've always known was unusual and which you now understand is professional. He says, "You speak English without an accent too." We started early. This is true. You've been in English classes since you were 4. Private tutors, materials that weren't standard curriculum. American children's television on tapes, American music, American idiom, American cadence, the specific texture of American speech that is different from British English in ways that matter for certain purposes. He says, there's a program for people who can do what you can do. They become something specific and very useful. It requires giving up certain things. You ask what things. He says, the surface of your life. For a time. You ask how long. He says, as long as the mission requires. You're 11. You don't know what this means. You know that your father is telling you something that most children are never told, and that being told it means something about what he thinks you are. You say, tell me about the program. Level 2. Illegal Residency School. You're 19. Moscow, 1983. The program is called the Illegal Residency Track. Illegals, nelegali, are the deepest cover agents the KGB operates. Not diplomats who can be expelled. Not intelligence officers with official cover. People who become entirely and completely citizens of a foreign country. The training is 6 years. It begins with your identity. Your identity is being built. A legend. A complete fictional life with real documentation. American birth certificate. Fabricated but registered through a process that has been running for decades, exploiting weaknesses in how birth records were maintained in specific states in specific years. American Social Security number. A backstory that is internally consistent, documentable, plausible. The legend gives you a name. The name is Michael Garrett. You will practice being Michael Garrett until Michael Garrett is not a performance, but a settled state. Your trainer for the identity work is a woman named Delacroix. Not her real name. Nobody uses real names in this building. 50, French-Canadian by legend, has run illegals operations for 20 years. She says, the amateur thinks about maintaining cover. The professional doesn't maintain cover. The professional is the cover. You learn the difference. It takes 3 years. You also learn photography, lockpicking, dead drops, signal sites, radio operation, one-time pads, brush passes, surveillance detection. The tradecraft of a spy who has no official protection, no embassy to go to, no diplomatic immunity. If you're caught, you're a criminal. The Soviet Union will deny knowing you exist. Your father visits the training facility once. He watches a practical exercise. He says nothing to you. When he leaves, he shakes your hand. You understand, this is goodbye to the version of yourself you've been. Level 3. Insertion. You're 25. United States, 1989. You enter the United States in September 1989 through Toronto. Michael Garrett, born Ohio, raised in Canada, returning to the country of his birth to settle. The legend has been backstopped for 3 years, credit history established through intermediaries, a Canadian address with verifiable records, references that are real people who know a version of you that has been carefully constructed. The customs officer asks your purpose of visit. You say, coming home. Grew up here, spent years in Canada, time to put down roots. He looks at the passport. He looks at you. He stamps it. You take a bus to Cleveland. You have an address, an apartment arranged through a cutout. You have $4,000 in cash and a credit history. You have a social security number. You have a legend. The Soviet Union has 4 months left to exist. You don't know this. Nobody does. You get a job. Data entry at a small insurance company. Beneath your actual capabilities, which is the point. You are not here to be notable. You are here to be unremarkable. You open a bank account. You join a gym. You go to a bar on Fridays and nurse a beer and talk to people about the Browns and the weather and the things that Americans talk about in bars. You discover that Americans will tell you almost anything if you ask and seem interested. At night, in the apartment, you eat and read and wait for instructions that come through a channel you will not describe. The instructions are infrequent. The waiting is continuous. You think about Moscow. You think about your father. You think about what Michael Garrett would think about, and you think that instead. Established cover. You're 29. Ohio, 1993. The Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. You received a signal through your channel. Continue operations under the Russian Federation. The mission continues. The service continues. You continue. The world around you has changed in ways that your legend needs to absorb. A man who was in Canada during the late 80s and returned to Ohio in 1989 would have opinions about the end of the Cold War, would have reactions to the new Russia. You develop these opinions. They are Michael Garrett's opinions. They are consistent with what a person in his position would think. You've been transferred. Within your cover, you left the insurance company and moved to Columbus for a better job. Marketing analyst at a mid-sized tech firm. You're good at it. You're good at it because you're actually good at it. The KGB selected people who could genuinely function in the target environment, not people who were pretending to function. You meet a woman. This is in the operational plan. The service knew that a cover without a personal life is thin cover. You're encouraged to develop social relationships, potentially including a significant relationship. The woman is not a target. She's a person. Her name is Sarah. She teaches elementary school. She's from Cincinnati. She laughs easily. She asks you about Canada and listens when you answer. She doesn't ask questions that are hard to answer. By the 3rd month, you understand that the relationship is becoming something that is going to complicate everything. You file a report through your channel. The response: continue the relationship. It strengthens the cover. You continue the relationship. You tell yourself the distinction between using someone and being with someone can be maintained. You're wrong about this, but you don't know it yet. Level 5. Deep cover. Active collection. You're 34. Ohio/DC, 1998. Before we go any further, drop a comment below. What career do you want to see next? Hit like, subscribe. We post every single day. You and Sarah are married. You have a daughter. She's 3. The daughter's name is Emma. She was not in the operational plan. Operational plans don't account for the specific weight of a 3-year-old who calls you dad and means it. Your mission has evolved. The collection tasks, the information you're gathering, have become more focused. Your professional network, cultivated over 9 years, includes people who work in defense contracting, in government, in the policy institutions around Washington. You travel to D.C. regularly for work. You have access to conversations that are valuable. You collect information the way the tradecraft teaches, not by asking, by being present, by being the kind of person that people talk to. You socialize, you listen, you remember, you transmit through your channel, a process so practiced it's muscle memory. You are doing exactly what you were trained to do. At Emma's 3rd birthday party, a man from your professional network, a policy analyst who works on defense procurement, says something offhand about a program that is not public, not classified, At the dinner party level, the casual indiscretion of someone who knows more than they should be saying at a birthday party. You listen, you remember, you transmit. That night, Emma falls asleep on your chest. She smells like birthday cake. You sit in the chair and hold her and think about what you transmitted 30 minutes ago. The thought does not resolve. Level 6. Crisis, marriage. You're 38, Ohio, 2002. Sarah finds something. Not evidence of the operation, evidence of the other thing. The thing that a man living undercover for 13 years develops as a survival mechanism, a parallel capacity for distance. She finds emails, not operational, personal. A woman you've been seeing in D.C., not a source, not an asset, a person. Someone with whom the distance doesn't have to be maintained because she doesn't know Michael Garrett well enough to notice the gap between him and whoever you actually are. Sarah confronts you. The confrontation is the worst conversation of Michael Garrett's life and also the worst conversation of your life, and you have stopped being able to separate those two things. You tell her the truth about the affair. You do not tell her the other truth. She asks, "Who are you?" You say, "I'm someone who made a terrible mistake." She says, "That's not an answer." You say, "It's the one I have." The marriage survives. For a year, it survives on the work of two people who are trying. Then, it reaches a state that is neither together nor apart. A cold coexistence for Emma's sake. You file a report through your channel. The response takes 3 weeks. The response is, maintain the cover. The marriage situation is manageable. The response is from people who have never met Sarah, who have never met Emma. You transmit acknowledgement. You live in the manageable marriage. Level 7. Exposure. You're 41, Ohio/FBI 2005. The FBI has been watching you for 14 months. You don't know this until they knock on the door on a Tuesday morning in March. 2 agents, calm, professional, the specific calm of people who have done this before and are not surprised by anything you might do. They show credentials. They ask if they can come in. Emma is at school. Sarah is at work. You say, "Of course." They sit in your living room. They put a folder on the coffee table. The folder contains photographs, financial records, communication logs. The channel you used, the one you believed was clean, was not clean, has not been clean for 14 months. The senior agent says, "We know who you are. We'd like to know what you know." You look at the folder. You look at the agents. You say, "I'd like to speak to a lawyer." The negotiation takes 4 months. Cooperation in exchange for consideration. The consideration doesn't include Sarah not finding out. Nothing can include that. Sarah finds out on a Thursday afternoon when 2 FBI agents visit her at the school where she teaches 3rd grade and tell her that the man she's been married to for 11 years was born in Moscow and his name is not Michael Garrett. You are not present for this. You find out how she received the information from a federal prosecutor who describes it without affect. Emma is 12. Level 8. Cooperation. You're 42. Federal custody. 2006. The cooperation is extensive. What you know. The communication protocols, the channel architecture, the cutouts, the other illegals you were aware of through compartmented knowledge, the collection methods, the tasking priorities, what Moscow was actually interested in, and what the requests revealed about Russian intelligence priorities. You provide it. Completely. Not because you've stopped believing in whatever you believed in. By this point, you're not sure what you believed in, whether it was the state or the mission or the legend or something else that doesn't have a clean name. You provide it because it's the only transaction available that offers any path toward the other side of this. The other side is a life, some version of a life, for you and possibly for Emma. The federal prosecutor, a woman named Park, efficient, not unkind, manages the cooperation agreement. She says, "You understand what this produces." You say, "Prison time," then supervised release. She says yes, and you say, and I'm a different person than the one who walked through customs in 1989. She looks at you for a moment. She says, that's the first thing you've said that isn't operational. You say, most things I've said for 20 years weren't. Level 9, Prison, you're 43, Federal Correctional Institution 2007, 8 years, Federal Facility, you serve 6. The sentence is not the hard part. The hard part is Emma. Sarah filed for divorce during the cooperation phase. You understand this. You signed the papers. You signed them with the name Michael Garrett, which is the only name on the documents, the only name that has legal existence. In the legal records, you are a fiction. Emma visits 3 times in 6 years. The visits are supervised. She is 12, then 14, then 16, then 18. You watch her become a person in a facility visiting room. You answer her questions as honestly as you can. You don't know for a long time what honest means for you. She asks once, at 16, what was real? You say, you were real. Your mother was real. Everything I felt in those situations was real. She says, but you weren't. You say, I was the person who felt those things. The name was different. She says, that's not an answer. You say, I know. I'm still working on a better one. She visits again at 18. She doesn't ask the question. She talks about college. She talks about her plans. She talks to you like a person she's decided to have a relationship with despite what the relationship is. This is the most generous thing anyone has ever done for you. Level 10. After. You're 52. Ohio, 2016. You live in Columbus under your own name. Your real name, Alexei Petrov, the name that's in the cooperation agreement and the sentencing record and the documents that the Department of Justice keeps in a file. The name feels unfamiliar. After 41 years, the Russian name is the stranger. You work. Consulting. Security consulting, which your specific knowledge makes you qualified for in a way that is professionally useful and personally strange. You advise on counterintelligence. You are, in effect, using what you know to help the people who caught you. Sarah remarried 4 years ago. You know this because Emma told you. You don't know the man. You don't ask. Emma is 23. She's in graduate school. She calls once a month. The calls are 20 minutes. She tells you about her work, her life, the things that are happening. You listen. You ask questions. You are present in the way you were never fully present when it would have mattered most. This is not enough. You know this. You do it anyway, because it's what's possible. You think about your father. He died in 2003. You were in federal custody. You were not informed for 6 months. You were not permitted to attend the funeral. You think about the birthday when he told you about the program, the matter-of-factness of it, what he thought he was offering you. You think he believed in something. You think the something was real to him. You think the mission and the thing he believed in were not always the same thing, and he may not have known that. You're not sure you believe he was wrong to send you. You're not sure he was right. The question doesn't resolve. You've stopped expecting it to. A student in a security studies class asks you to speak. You say yes. You tell them what you did. Not the operational details, the experience. What it is to become someone else. What it costs. What it does to the people around you who didn't choose it. The student asks, do you think it was worth it for Russia? You say, I don't know what I produced. I know what it cost. He says, what did it cost? You say, everything that was mine, which turned out to be more than the mission account for. He writes it down. You drive home. Columbus, your apartment, your real name on the mailbox. You are, finally, only one person. It took 52 years. It's enough. It has to be enough.